this visit is very, very interesting for you and for me also, because this is the biggest and the oldest and the most important and popular mosque we have in Alexandria, which has a lot of stories. Um, Abu Al-Abbas Mosque is built, as I told you, by Italian Christian architect, and that's why the mosque from outside it looks like a church from
Almost
the
a
medieval
church.
ages. I think this alone show how was the city of Alexandria and how is the city of Alexandria for the Muslims to choose Italian Christian architect to make for them the most important mosque of the city. I think this means a lot. In Egypt we are Muslims and Christians, and we still have a very small percentages of Jewish also. In many streets in Alexandria and Cairo you will see churches in front of mosques. I took one of the copies of the Quran. This is like the Bible for Christian, like the Old Testament for the Christians. The Quran is the main source of us as Muslims to understand our religion. And I am Muslim and I read the Quran many times, and I understand Arabic very well, and I understand every word in Quran. And I believe one of the main problems of the Muslims around the world is that they cannot read the Quran and they cannot understand the Quran. When I travel to America or Europe, unfortunately the Muslims there, they don't speak Arabic, most of them, and even if they speak the classical Arabic of Quran, you have to be very well educated in the Arabic language to be able to read it and then understand it. So what I would like to say is that I'm sure you heard a lot of what they talk when they talk about Islam and Quran and this terrorist and this fundamentals. And when I look at these people and I try to, as a Muslim, I try to understand why we have very fanatic groups. If we are one of the very rare religions that have one source. It's only one copy of the Quran. We don't have different versions. It's only one in the whole world. So how come there are fundamentals and some behave like criminals and some behave like terrorists, and and we have Al-Qaeda and we have ISIS? How come if we have the same source that we should all share, how come this is happening? And this is a question for me as Muslim. How come? And when I travel to England, I meet many Muslims and I feel very surprised. They talk about Islam and about my religion in a very strange way, in a very fanatic way, although they live in England. In America, it's the same story. There are many fundamentals who say they are Muslims and they talk very radically about Islam, and I think they give a very bad impression for anyone that these people represent Islam. And when I talk with them, from where did you get your religion, and how do you get this understanding to be that fanatic about religion? I see that they just follow some leaders. For example, in the mosques we have imam. The imam go every Friday on the prayer and he gives his speech. Of course, our imams here in Egypt are very modern because they understand, and we have the University of Al-Azhar, which teach all the Quran in details, and our religion is only about peace, and the word Islam means peaceful, and the word Muslim means very peaceful. This is the meaning in Arabic. So how come these people are very fanatic like this? And as I told you, when I studied this issue, I found that this, for example, fanatics in Afghanistan or ISIS, they don't follow Quran, they follow an imam. They don't understand Arabic, they don't read Arabic, so there is like imam there, and what he tells them, this is for them is Islam. So if he's fanatic, the whole country will be fanatic after him. Like in Afghanistan, they justify the killing and they say you should do this because this is the words of God. There is nothing like this in the Quran. I read it thousands of times since I was a child. There is no word in the Quran is asking you to do any harm to an animal or to a human being or to anyone. All the verses we have in the Quran is talking about how we help each other, how we cooperate, how we can do well in life so we can be in the paradise. and if you did anything wrong, even to an animal or to if you harm a cat, this is a big sin in the Quran. So for me, this was an issue to understand, and I wanted to clarify this for you also because I'm sure, unfortunately, in Europe and in America, you meet very strange Muslims. I saw them and I saw how they speak, and I was very, very surprised sometimes of how fanatics they are. I saw what happened in London last 2 months ago. There were many Muslims making riots and fires in London and causing a lot of troubles. This is not behaviors of Muslims. The Muslims should be very peaceful and should be very forgiveful, and but I see very strange actions for me as a Muslim people, and sometimes I feel very ashamed of them that they show Islam in this very wrong way, and I'm sure they give a very wrong impression. So, by the way, this is an active mosque. When you go to Turkey, Istanbul, or Cairo, you will visit only a mosque that is prepared for you, for tourists. But this is a real mosque. This is a place that the people just finished the prayer, and they will. I think there was some people praying some minutes ago, and they left, and now the people will come to pray. So this is active mosque, and you can see we are men and women in the mosque. In any other countries, unfortunately, they don't allow this. And this is very another issue. For example, when I remember I went with my mom to Saudi Arabia, where we have the Kaaba. It's not allowed for the women there to cover their face. While many Muslims all over the world, they will convince you to be a good Muslim woman, you have to cover your face. It's not even allowed to put the cover as a woman on your face in Al-Kaaba, which is the most holy place for Muslims. In Saudi Arabia, they don't allow the women to do this because this is not part of our religion. You have to be very clear-faced with God when you are in Al-Kaaba, the holy place, which is the direction of Mecca. We all Muslims all over the world pray in this direction. So in the most holy place, open any video about Al-Kaaba, women are not allowed to cover their face there, which means a lot, of the interpretations and a lot what the people follow. It's nothing to do with religion, it's just tradition. And that's why you find the Muslims in Egypt are very moderate, because we have University of Azhar, we studied Quran, we know what it says, no one can deceive us. But unfortunately in other countries like Pakistan or Iran, they don't even understand Arabic, so they just follow what the Imam says. If the Imam is a good person, then the whole country will follow him. If he's fanatic like in Iran, you know what's happening. So I hope I clarified this point. Yes.
Is there any movement to get maybe more like educational institutes in those countries from Egypt to?
Yes, Al-Azhar University send a lot of scholars and teachers from Egypt to Saudi Arabia and to the Arab world to teach them about Islam, and Al-Azhar University is trying so hard. And also even the president of Egypt was just talking about this, that Al-Azhar should have a bigger role to do more efforts, because we can see there is misunderstanding, and many Muslims follow a very strange religion that we have no idea about. I will tell you something that many are asking me about. For example, in order to be a Muslim, do you know that we have a chapter? I'm sure 99% of Muslims, they don't even know this. We have a chapter in the Quran talking about the Christ and the Virgin Mary. In order to be a Muslim, you have to believe in the Christ and you have to believe in the Virgin Mary. Maybe this is the first time for you to hear this. We have a whole chapter from the 30 chapters of the Quran talking about the Christ and the Virgin Mary. But we believe in the Christ not as a God. We believe for the Christ as a prophet of God, soul of God, and the Virgin Mary is a very holy woman that gave birth to the Christ. Without believing in the Christ and the Virgin Mary and all the prophets, you cannot say that you are a Muslim. And unfortunately, I meet many Muslims who are fanatic from many countries, and they think they shouldn't be believing in the Virgin Mary, or which is very strange for me and makes me feel there is something wrong in their education, or no one taught them what is Islam about. Maybe I will take it as a chance and translate for you some verses.
But is this not written in Farsi instead of
No,
Arabic?
this is Arabic.
Ah, this is Arabic.
This is Arabic. This is the language that Quran was came when the Quran was like delivered to the Prophet Muhammad, it was in Arabic.
Oh.
And this is another trouble that they
Yeah.
translate it in Farsi and
Yeah.
Turkish, and they make another versions, and of course everyone translate it in his understanding, and it's written, I cannot deny, for me I understand it, but it's written in a very difficult Arabic. So if someone foreign, I'm sure he will translate it completely wrong. Because me, as someone who knows Arabic very well, I'm sure I will make mistakes if I translate it in English. So I imagine if someone who doesn't even know Arabic, how come he will make it in Farsi? And this is a big trouble, unfortunately. For example, this is the main verse, like the start of Quran. I will say it in Arabic and then I will try to translate it for you. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. This is like the start verse of the Quran. It says, in the name of God, thank God for all his actions, the merciful God. He is like the judge in the judgment day. We believe on judgment day that we will be judged, and the good people will go to the paradise, and the bad people who made bad actions in life will be in the hellfire. Please guide us to the right way. Please give us your blessing and all the good things that you want us to be alike, and make us away from the wrong roads and guide us to the right roads. This is the start of the Quran, and we say it in many. There is another verse which I believe is very important, which talks about God. God according to Islam. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. This verse, I remember since I was a child, I was reading it, and it made me understand a lot about how is God in our religion, who is God. It says in the name of God, it says there is only one God, قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد. To this God we will all return at the end, and it says we all return. So my understanding and my believing is that we all, as Christians, Jewish, whatever religion, we will all at the end go to God, and He will judge us. Whatever is the name of God, you name Him as you like, but we will all return to God. This is very important. He doesn't have, and this is the main difference between Islam and Christianity. God doesn't have children, and He was not born, and there is no one like Him. So this is a very important verse that tell us about how we should, as Muslims, how we should believe in God. And it's very important also that it's telling us that there is no intermediator between us and God. I can come here and just talk to God. I can just do this at home. We don't need, like other religions, someone in middle to go and talk with Him and ask Him for forgiveness. No, you can just talk directly to God, and I think this is very, very important. So we have many verses like this that talks about God, and it's very clear. There is nothing confusing or nothing. This is very nice also verse. It's talking about how we should learn and how we should study and how we should develop ourselves, and the person shouldn't stop learning all his life. This is a very nice verse. I can read it for you in Arabic. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. It's a very nice verse. Talks about the importance of education and how we should work on ourselves and develop ourselves. If you have any questions about Islam, about anything that you find strange, anything that you cannot understand, I will be very happy to answer you. You can see behind you, this gentleman is praying, and you can see when we pray, we kneel completely on the ground. So it's some rituals and some movement. Each prayer takes around 2 minutes, and Muslims should pray 5 times a day. You can pray anywhere.
What are those times?
This is the 5 times of the prayer. So they are telling us today, because it depends on the sun and the moon. So they are telling us today, for example, the next prayer will be at 6:21.
Okay.
So we have 5 times we should pray at mosque.
So most people in Cairo, I know there's like 2 sects, and one believes that it comes from the Prophet Muhammad.
What do you mean 2 sects?
2 like sectors.
2 sectors.
So like
Sex.
I see.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. One believes it goes from